Well, I've got a lot of information to share with you guys today, and one that I'm going to ask you to hear me out in because, quite frankly, I have not heard anyone in the alternative media making the link that I'm about to make to you today regarding Kamala Harris. In fact, there are two major cover-ups happening right now by the mainstream media regarding Kamala Harris, and these are the two things that I'm going to be bringing to the forefront in today's broadcast and exposing, because that tells me the mainstream media doesn't want these two things known about Kamala Harris, which just gives me all the more reason to share it with you guys. But the link that I want to start with before I dive in is this fact. When Joe Biden announced that he was going to be the 2024 presidential nominees running again for president, I said, oh no, the Democrats do not want this guy in charge. However, they let it all play out, and they did it on purpose, knowing dang well that they were going to take him out from running at a later time, particularly after the primaries and after Joe Biden had already been elected by the Democrats, right? And I'm like, okay, they're going to take this guy down at some point in time. But I got to thinking a little further. The reason that they waited so long to take him out is because they did not want to give their own people a choice of who the candidate would be. That's why when RFK came up and said, hey, I'm on the ballot, I'm running as a Democrat, he was told by the Biden administration, by I think the Democrats, the DNC, just Democrats in general, told him, oh, we can't have you because we're not going to even put you on the ballot. And as you know, even the other Democrat candidates had trouble getting on the Democrat ticket on the ballot there. So there was a lot of corruption to begin with. But basically, the only choice you were given if you were a Democrat was Joe Biden, right? And then we have them covering up his health for a very long time until coincidentally, after the debate, which I said, hey, they're having this debate early because Joe Biden, they want to take him out after the debate. They want to expose what's going on with his health, and they're going to do it at that debate, and he's going to epically fail, and that's when they're going to start calling for his resignation, which is exactly what happened. But the point that I'm trying to make here is they waited until after the Democrats voted. They waited till this point in time to do it because they didn't want to give their own people a choice. They knew all along that they were going to appoint Kamala Harris, which I predicted, again, that she was the leading candidate. And obviously she has enough delegates. They haven't officially dubbed her yet, but the delegates are making the call, not the people. So I'm going to contest to you that they absolutely wanted her, and they wanted her for two main reasons. One, her job at the border, and two, the fact that she is one of the most liberal senators. And I'm going to get into that, but just a quick break from my sponsor. Well, folks, the FBI calls it house stealing. And this is something I have been warning about here on my channel for well over a year because it's such a huge problem. Scammers can transfer your home title, take out a loan in your name, and leave you with nothing but an emotional and financial disaster. If you own a home or real estate, then it is absolutely critical that you protect your property and equity from these types of criminals. And in fact, I know of no better way to do that than by checking out HomeTitleLock.com. If you haven't checked it out before, now is the time. And the good news is they are giving away to my listeners 30 days free of Home Title Lock's triple protection, which includes 24/7 monitoring of your title and also urgent alerts if anything changes. And most importantly, restoration of your title if there is any fraud whatsoever. And all you have to do is enter the promo code Lisa right there in the coupon section you can see on the screen. But protect your home equity and even your peace of mind right now with HomeTitleLock.com. HomeTitleLock.com. If you want more information, click that more button if you're on your cell phone, or click the link in the description box below. All right, back to the broadcast. All right, make sure you guys check that out. Home Title Lock is absolutely amazing, by the way. You're not going to regret it. But with that, let's dive into the two things. I think the reasons why they're putting her up. Again, she hasn't officially been elected, but she's seeming like the candidate. But these are the two reasons they want her. Number one, the border. The border crisis that we are having right now is as a result of her Joe Biden and their administration. She was, in fact, appointed the border czar, which is just a label that's given to whoever is in charge of the border. And Joe Biden obviously put this woman in charge of the border. And obviously, the Democrats love, those at the top, by the way, not all the Democrats do, those at the top, love the job that she is doing at the border, which is basically turning a blind eye and doing nothing. That's what they want, right? But here is, let me play for you Joe Biden's announcement, because the mainstream media is trying to hide this information from the American public, including their own people, by the way. That's who the real reason is. They know they're not going to convince us Republicans. They're trying to hide this from Democrats. But take a listen to Joe Biden himself making that statement.
I've asked her, the VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help us. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks, stemming the migration to our southern border.
In other words, she's in charge of the border. In fact, there was a House resolution that was proposed, HS 253, which is a resolution by her 118th Congress, where the House of Representatives came together and they were upset with Kamala Harris and they wanted her removed from her position of Biden czar. And so they put forth this resolution. Obviously, it didn't pass, but in that resolution, they actually call her the czar. Vice President Kamala Harris was named border czar, in charge of leading efforts to stem migration across the U.S. border. And that was appointed on March 24th, 2021. Cue the video, right? So that was the appointment. Now, Wikipedia, I don't really care for Wikipedia, but just to give you an overall, even Wikipedia has the border czar here labeled, and you can see Kamala Harris is even there. I don't take much merit in Wikipedia, but there you go. And by the way, again, this is just a term that we dub. I guess there's no official thing. It's just a term that we use for that position. And the mainstream media has the audacity right now to go out there and pretend like, there is no border czar Kamala Harris. But anyway, one more piece of the puzzle that I want to show you before I show you the mainstream media freak out is this. And this just happened, by the way, published July 25th. 6 Democrats joined Republicans to condemn border czar Kamala Harris for botching the border crisis. And here's the actual Democrats that voted with them. You can see kind of a joint effort here, but they voted to condemn their party's now presumptive nominee for making a mess of migration. So it's interesting that, because not all Democrats are in on this new Green Deal, New World Order agenda, right? So here we have, but here we have 6 of them joining Republicans because they're upset with the border. In fact, if you read the actual HR resolution that was put forward, they name her the border czar, strongly condemning the Biden administration and its border czar, Kamala Harris, failure to secure the border, right? So there that is again on a different resolution. So with all this in mind, the mainstream media has the audacity to pretend like she's not the border czar, even though one of the main reasons that they are anointing her potentially as the presidential candidate for 2024 to run against Donald J. Trump is because of her job on the border. Their people are pissed off about the job on the border, so they're going into straight up cover for it. And that's a very important point. But here we have liberal media claims Kamala Harris was never the border czar, contradicting their own reporting. And that's on Fox News. And I'm going to take you to Axios, because this is just hilarious, right? Here's Axios, April 14th, 2021. This is the post they put out. And if you scroll down in that post, there's a sentence in there and it reads, Harris, appointed by Biden as border czar, said she would be looking at the root causes that drive migration. Now, they have since gone back because they got called out for their stupidity, I guess. But they have since gone back and say, oh, we were wrong to call her a border czar back in 2021. It's funny how they have to, go back to go forward. They're trying to change history. But in any And in any aspect, they came out recently. I mean, they also came out and did this article. This is on March 24th. Biden puts Harris in charge of the border crisis. That means she's the border czar, right? But then they came out very recently after she's looking like the nominee, and they put this out. The Trump campaign and Republicans have tagged Harris repeatedly with the border czar title, which she never actually had. Never mind the fact that they called her the border czar in their own article in 2021 and even in March of 2021, yet they're pretending like that didn't happen. And I love how X and Elon Musk now allow these reader added context. Axios itself referred to Harris as Biden border czar in 2021 and references those articles. It's kind of like a slap in the head. Meanwhile, it doesn't matter. The mainstream media is still on a row lying to people. Take a look at some of these other ones. Time magazine, Kamala Harris was never the border czar. Here's what she really did. Then we have also, no, Kamala Harris is not the border czar. This is on Forbes. What to know about her immigration record. And of course, USA Today, Harris border work was on root causes of migration. She was not in charge. Never mind the fact that you saw that video where Joe Biden did, in fact, put her in charge. He says she is in charge of that. But hey, let's just ignore that. So, obviously, it's laughable. It's like anything the mainstream media says today is the complete opposite of what they're saying. And look, I don't care if you want to call her the border czar or in charge. I don't really care what name you give it. The fact is, she was in charge and she was the one that was supposed to be running it. And as a result of that, we have utter chaos breaking out in the border. In fact, MSNBC brought some ladies on and asked if they were going to vote for Kamala. And I didn't pull up the video, but the ladies were like, no, I don't like the job that she did at the border. We're absolutely not voting for her. And that's the thing. A lot of people, even within the Democrat Party, there is growing resistance against chaos that is happening among our border, because it is. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. And now you're starting to see everything play out in our country, right? They're getting free phones. They're getting checks sent by the United States government. They're getting free healthcare. They're getting free college, all kinds of free stuff given to these people, while the American people are getting slapped in the face and paying for it all. And even the Democrats are starting to get upset about this. That is why the mainstream media is doing everything in their power right now to cover the fact that Kamala Harris wasn't in charge of the border. She was just in charge of the root causes, which is the same freaking thing, right? But they can't, because they've called her border czar on numerous occasions and said she was in charge of the border, which she was. So if the Democrats hear that, they're not going to be too happy with Kamala Harris. That's why the mainstream media is doing damage control. And again, a point that a lot of people in even alternative media are missing. This is the reason the higher-ups in the Democrat Party put her forward. They want the border open. They want it open. And that's what they're doing. In fact, they want it open because they get more votes that way. Illegals are not allowed to vote. But, Rasmussen just put up a poll, and I had it up, but I took it down, where it shows about 9% of the people voting in our elections either don't know if they're a citizen or admit that they're not a citizen, and yet they're voting. 9% to the Democrats' advantage, right? This is why they want it open, and they don't care about the repercussions it has on our country. This is why I'm going to talk about it all the more. Now, the second thing that they're really covering up, and this is very important, is GovTrack put out a report card of United States senators and how liberal they are. And Kamala Harris was voted the most liberal. And I'll show you this. Senator Kamala Harris 2019 report card. And it says serving from 2017 to 2023 ranked most liberal compared to all senators. That means that includes AOC, Bernie Sanders. She is by far the most liberal. And then in order to cover it up, because the Democrats themselves would never vote for Kamala Harris because of the border crap that she's done and because of the fact that she is the most liberal candidate. They are now wiping the internet of that. GovTrack deletes Kamala Harris's liberal rating, so you can't even look it up anymore on there. So if Democrats go and try to look it up on GovTrack, it's not there anymore. It's just gone. You see how they're hiding this from their own people? Because the Republican side knows it. We're like, hey, they did this, they deleted it, it's gone. They're not trying to hide from us They're not. We know the fact that she's been dubbed the border czar, and we also know that GovTrack labeled her the most liberal. These are the 2 points you need to share with every single Democrat that you know, because they're the 2 points that are going to cause them to turn the other way against Kamala Harris. And this is why the mainstream media is scrubbing it, not because of us, but because they want to hide information from their own people, and it's downright disgusting. But here's some of the stuff that makes this woman very liberal, just to show you some stuff. This is on Breitbart. Kamala Harris was one of the first supporting the Green New Deal, with goals of providing economic security for people unwilling to work. In other words, it's socialism. You're going to pay, you're going to work, and you're going to work all day long, and you're going to check to a lot of people who do not work. The Green New Deal was atrocious, in fact. Let me show you her own text on this so you don't have to take my word for it. Here she is. February 2019, I'm proud to co-sponsor AOC and Ed Markey's Green New Deal. We must aggressively tackle climate change, which possesses an existential threat. Existential threat. So there's that, right? But Green New Deal calls for 100% renewable energy within 10 years. That means a complete revamp of our economy, you to eat less meat. It proposes phasing out air travel, upgrading all of our existing buildings here in the United States, ignores deficit, just says print money whenever you need it, which we're talking about massive inflation, like Germany-style inflation back in the day. But anyway, that's just a tip of the iceberg. You guys have seen a lot of that. But not only that, how radical is she actually? And here's some of radical policies that the Blaze pointed out in this article here. Here's 13 things she's endorsed. Of course, the Green New Deal, right? Co-sponsor single-payer health care, aka universal health care. We don't want that. She advocated for a complete transition away from fossil fuels in 10 years, which will lead to the collapse of our economy. She supported universal government job guarantee. In other words, a bunch of government jobs. Government controls everything. That is too much power in the hand of one organization. She was also for government programs promising universal access to healthy foods. She wanted to upgrade every single home and business building in the country for energy efficiency. And then 7 through 13, she's for UBI. I'm absolutely not. New national living wage standards, more power for labor unions, free college, which isn't free, a whole new electrical grid, the end of gas cars by 2030, the transformation of U.S. agriculture, including the end of the cattle industry. That's massive. Absolutely freaking massive. And by the way, they want to pack the Supreme Court if she gets in. New communication director for Kamala Harris campaign wants to pack the Supreme Court. And there it is, defund the police. And that's on Gateway Pundit. She's very liberal. One more thing that I want to show you, and I think this really sums it up, is people went on uncensored.ai, your artificial intelligence here, and they asked the question, what political ideology does Kamala Harris most align with? And the answer, well, it's exactly as you guys expected it would be. And it says the answer is Kamala Harris policies and political stances most align with socialism or even communism. And it lists all the reasons. And by the way, she wants high taxes. It says right here, she wants to expand the government. She wants high taxes. She has voted for every tax increase ever. Regulation and control, expansion of social programs, rhetoric on equality, and obviously she was voted the most liberal. They want to usher in. This is why they didn't give their Democrats a vote. It was all part of the plan. It absolutely was. They weren't given a vote. They were given a person because they want to force socialism and communism down the throats of Democrats because they're the most easiest to accept it, right? And they want to put in the most liberal person in all of Senate to do that. And by golly, Democrats would have never voted her in. But now they're left with a choice, the Republican or the Democrat. What will happen? Well, I guess time will only tell. Anyhow, I love you guys. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.